You know, even after all this time, the sun has never said to the earth, "You owe me." Think what a love like that can do. It can light the whole sky. That gives me the God bumps when I hear that. I love that. And we're right now, in this moment, we're surrounded by a love like that. That's the essence and energy we live in. Our responsibility here, I believe the reason we're here, is to awaken to that, to open up ourselves up enough that we can be in the flow of that love all the time. But that's a process, but I'll get to that in a minute. The mystics have all taught this. They have taught about that process of love. You know, we ask, well, why am I here? What's my purpose? Well, if you look at the mystics, they were here to teach us that we're here to give to life. I would say there's one purpose for all of us. Of course, we add the details to it, but our purpose is to be a beneficial presence, to uplift the consciousness of ourselves and to uplift the consciousness of others. You know, we talk about how simple it is to smile at someone and to care a bit, to show people they matter. And again, if we look at throughout history, I mean, when Moses was there, he gave his life to lead his people to freedom. And Buddha, he was there to teach compassion, to bring people up. And Jesus taught love. So I'm going to talk about Jesus for a minute. Jesus was there as a way shower, a master teacher to teach us all. And he taught in ways that we could really understand if we listen and look carefully. He taught his disciples that they were here on this planet, and he said, you're here in this life right now to be deacons. And a deacon is what we're all here to be. A deacon is a messenger, a minister, a teacher, and a servant. So he taught we are here to serve. And he gave tools of how to do that. Love God and love one another. 2 main commandments. That's it. Love God, love one another. And he said, we are here to serve one another and to serve one another through love. And here's something he asked, a question that I think we could all ask. He asked his disciples, which one would you rather be? The one at the table being served, or the one doing the serving? And Jesus answered even before his disciples had a chance to answer, and he said, I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve. You know the reason the sun can keep shining? Because it gives so generously. If you find people that have found that balance between giving and receiving, which we're all here to do, it's about that balance in life. Ernest Holmes calls it, we're centers of accumulation. We've been given so much, and our true job is to open to all that has been given. So we're centers of accumulation, to just receive all that's been given, and centers of distribution. If we're going to be in that flow of life, we've got to be able to give and share and release the good that's there to be in that flow. And he said that the two are identical and interchangeable. It's about the balance we call the balance of life, the law of circulation, the law of reciprocity. And we're here to be in that balance, and they're interchangeable. The only thing that can interfere with that flow, guess? Us. We're the only ones that can interfere with that flow, because it's the natural movement of life is that flow of life. So when you and I get to decide, how am I doing? How am I doing? Well, as I said, the spiritual growth thing is a process. And if you look, I don't know, theologians have said in the Bible there's 7 stages of spiritual growth. It would go this way. It's not that way, but it's 7 stages of spiritual growth, uplifting our consciousness, uplifting our consciousness so we can be in that place where we're actually in that openness and oneness of all life. The journey up there is to oneness. But we don't just, boom, enlightenment sounds so easy, doesn't it? Boom, I'm awake and alive. But it's the stages that happen. And the spiritual masters have all talked about the stages of spiritual awakening. And Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith has the stages of evolution, and I like those. There's just 4 simple stages. And so we're going to go through those because they're not just about spiritually awakening to receiving, because that's one part of life, but they're a spiritual awakening to giving to life also. And too often, especially I think in metaphysics, sometimes we focus too hard just on the getting, and we forget that it's so much about the balance of being a center of accumulation and a center of distribution, and being in that flow. So the first stage, and I think we can all recognize it, because I don't know about you when you hear these, but I flip around. It's not you get to one stage and go, oh, I'm there. It's like you have to work to be there and you forget and slip down sometimes. But the first stage is that stage of victim. And you can tell if you're there because your life is in chaos. You don't have to raise your hand, but I can see. Your life is in chaos, and you're saying, oh, why is all this happening to me right now? Who's to blame? Why is this going on? You're a victim. It's happening to you, and you feel powerless. And, oftentimes, you hear so often, oh, know thyself. Well, at this stage, when you know yourself, you know all the flaws and inadequacies of yourself and everybody else. You're looking at what's wrong with life instead of what's right. You know what happens? If the journey up there is to oneness, when you're in this stage and you're looking at what's wrong with you or what's wrong with life in general, and everybody that's in it, you're hesitant to make connections. Because when you connect with people, there's an intimacy, an into-me-see. So people can see, ooh, I don't want to get close to anybody because they're going to see all my flaws, my insecurities, my weaknesses, my lack, all this. They're going to see it all. Or I'm going to have to deal with theirs. So it's just easier to stay away, to keep the walls up and not have to deal with it. Do you get what I mean? It's just we're there until we're so sick and tired of being there, because inside of each one of us, there is this pull for connection. And Jean Houston was so cute. She said there gets to be a time. She was the head of the human potential movement, and I've studied here with her for years, just love her. And she said, there comes a time when we get tired of thinking we're just encapsulated bags of skin dragging around these dreary little egos. It's when we want to know there's something more going on, and there's that little tug inside of us that says, there's something more to this life. There's something more right now, and I want to be part of it. But in order to go from this stage of victimhood, where we've all been, and we all can slip into now and then, we have to let go of something. We have to let go of that finger that points and blames, or we have to let go of that guilt and shame that we're holding on to. We have to let go of something to make room for the next stage, which is when we connect with that understanding, oh, there's a power greater than I am. And I can use it. And remember when we first did treatment and prayer for a parking place? How many of you are still doing that? All of us, we all want a good parking place. So that's kind of a universal prayer that just we keep taking with us, Ooh, and how is my consciousness today? And we're still praying for those parking places. But it's really the place of manifestation where we realize that we actually can use this power in our life to make some change, to bring in goodness, and to make some change in our life for good. But it's also, if we're using this power for good, it's about using this power to make connections. Because I think it was my dear friend Rumi who said, take a moment and just feel that pull within us that wants to connect. And what I thought about is, that pull within us, when we're these little tiny embryos, we're connected by an umbilical cord, and we're just the magic, the miracle, the wonder of life works through moms and dads to create this life. It's not something that we have to plan and work out where every little cell and organ goes. It's just this divine creation that's happening, and we're connected to this umbilical cord of life that's just moving through us. And then when we're born, we're separated. But there's something in us that always wants to keep building that connection. So it's not something happens once in a while. We want to connect. We want to be part, not just of something greater that we can manifest. We want to be part of life and community, and we want to be part of other people's lives. You know, even though you're imperfectly perfect, and so's the person next to you, when we get together, we can rub our rough edges together and we can smooth ourselves out. If we just stay by ourselves, our rough edges stay really sharp. Do you know what I mean? We need each other to grow and become something more. So once we do that, once we get to that place that we let go, we can enter into the place of the second stage of life. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, will you let go of your bloated nothingness, which gets in the way of your divine circuits? Isn't that cute? So when we do that, we can start manifesting something greater. And, you know, there's this story, how we have to learn to be there with each other. How many of you know that life isn't perfect all the time? Well, that's why we need to work together, and we need each other. And this is a story we've all heard, I'm sure, at least most of us. And I love this story. And I heard it 30 years ago. And it's one you just, you know, it just makes you feel good. But there was a man who really wanted to take a tour of heaven and hell. So he started out. He was very smart. He started in hell first. And he went to hell, and he visited hell, I guess. Anyway, he went down there, and there were these big tables in hell, laden with gorgeous food, and yummy. Yet, if you looked at the people, they were all thin, emaciated, and so unhappy. They had long spoons tied to their arms, and they couldn't feed themselves. The guy was really sad. So he went up to heaven, and he walked in, and it was the exact same scenario. It was the same tables, the same food, except the people were all joyous and happy and definitely well fed. They too had the spoons tied to their arms, too long to feed themselves. But they learned to feed each other. That's why we need each other. You know, when you or I forget that we're divinely made, that we're a child of the Most High, when we forget that we live in a world of infinite possibility, that we just need to be open to it and not get our bloated nothingness in the way, that's what we have other people there for, to reflect to us that life is inherently good. So when we learn to manifest those parking places, when we learn to manifest that we can help one another and be a beneficial presence, we get to move to the third stage. And remember I said that flow of accumulation and distribution. Stage 3 is about life is happening through me. Not to me or by me, but through me. And we get to be in that divine flow of goodness. And this is where we truly connect with something called compassion. Because when we're in the flow of life, we realize that we are a child or a divine quality of God. We realize we're part of the whole process. And so when we get into that flow, we start letting go of the need to control, the need to fix, but be divinely guided. We listen more at this stage because we know that every single problem holds its answer. And we have to listen, because it may come through that intuitive voice. It may come from the word of a friend. It may come from a book we're reading. It may come from the waiter delivering you your little number sign for your food to tell you the angels are with you. Whatever it is, it's there. And we need to be open to that understanding that there's something more going on. So let me share. Well, first of all, I want to say that Jesus mentioned this in his Beatitudes, the blessings, that when he said, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they see God." And Mother Teresa, the reason that woman could do what she did, her whole life was service. The reason she could do that, because every face she saw, no matter how diseased, how impoverished, how lonely, she said she saw the face of Jesus, the face of God. She couldn't pass by anyone in pain because she could see that beautiful face there, that she was part of her, an extension of her, that she had to take care of. This is, I think most of you know Pema Children. She's the cutest little Buddhist nun, and she lives up in Nova Scotia, but I've been to a couple of her workshops, and she talks about compassion. And she said compassion is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded. It's not between the healer and the wounded. It's a relationship between two equals. Only when we know our own darkness will we be able to be present with the darkness of others. How true is that? Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. And that's what service is really about, celebrating our shared humanity. And Hafez says, a wise man learns what draws God near, the beauty of compassion in your heart. So this is not something that's owned by Jesus or by Buddha or by some other spiritual master. The teaching of compassion belongs to all of us. I want you to think for just a moment, if it's in the flow, just imagine, your eyes can be open or closed, but just imagine this influx of this warm, sparkly, loving energy. We can call it love, creative potential, infinite intelligence, whatever we call it, spirit, God, goodness. Just feel it as it flows through you and opens your heart and your mind to be available for all the good that's present right now. And imagine, you don't want to stop that flow. You don't want to stop the flow of that warm, sparkly, loving energy. You want to let it go, reach it out, be there. So in that flow, I want that flow to lift you up to stage 4, because I definitely want to end on stage 4. Stage 4 is life is happening as me. We realize that right here, right now, we are one with this presence. It was in the Bible, Paul's letter to the Galatians, that he said, you are not a servant, you are a child of God. And as a child of God, you are God's heirs. You hold the gifts of God in you right now. That's what I'm saying. You hold the gifts of God in you right now, and that's stage 4. So I want you to think, does that make you smile? Yeah. Yes, because we're already there. Now we may slip around, but we can get there. We can get there. We are already at that level. We need to be smiling when we recognize, yes, as humans, we are imperfectly perfect, but we're not this bag of skin carrying around the ego. We are divinely filled right now, and we are here on purpose with things to do, and walking around, sharing our love, sharing our light, just like the sun. We might not light up the whole sky, but we can light up someone's face. We can light up a room. We can bring goodness to wherever we are. And the truth I know for each and every person here, we're on this journey together. A journey of awakening. We rub our edges together sometimes, but each and every one of us is smoothing out in a beautiful and wonderful way. I am really proud to call this our family. I am really proud that we're on this journey of awakening together. And I make a promise that when you forget who you are, that I can see the truth. And I know the same for you when it happens to me, because we are in this together. I just want to thank you all for being here, for being my heart of service in a place where I get to serve. How blessed I am, how thankful I am. And every single day, I say, God bless each and every one of you, and I give you a big hug in my heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you.